Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling, well, maybe the biggest obstacle any of us face when we're trying to achieve something significant or, even just trying to be decent people.
Yeah, we're looking at source material that makes a really strong case that ego, it's the enemy, the main enemy standing between you and your potential, your lasting success. Doesn't matter where you are on the journey either.
Right. And this isn't just some feel-good talk. The analysis here is pretty structured. It looks at ego across three big stages of any major pursuit.
Exactly. Aspiration, when you're starting out, success, when you've maybe made it, and failure, which, let's face it, usually comes knocking at some point.
But first, we need to be super clear on what we mean by ego here. It's not the Freudian thing, right? Ego, superego,
Yeah.
none of that.
No, not at all. We're talking about the everyday destructive kind. The source calls it an unhealthy belief in our own importance. It's arrogance. It's that self-centered ambition that demands attention.
Like the petulant child inside every person. I thought that was a great description.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's that voice whispering that you're special, you deserve stuff now, and crucially, that just talking about doing the big thing is almost as good as, actually doing it.
Okay, so our mission today is basically to help you spot that voice, that ego, and learn how to shut it down at every stage, starting with the climb up.
Let's do it. Aspiration.
Right, so aspiration. You've got this big goal, you're starting out, and the first ego trap, according to the research, is the talking trap.
This is huge. We talk instead of doing. We look for praise, for comfort, for credit, before we've actually put in the hard yards.
Is that just putting things off, procrastination, or is it something sneakier? Like the ego is trying to get the reward without the risk.
I think it's definitely sneakier. The ego craves status. It wants the feeling of accomplishment now. Think about Upton Sinclair. He's running for governor of California back in '34.
Okay.
And he doesn't just campaign. He writes and publishes a book called I, Governor of California and How I Ended Poverty, past tense. Like he'd already won.
Wow. He basically lived out the victory in his head first.
Totally. But here's the kicker. Observers said once the book was a success, Sinclair himself seemed less interested in the actual campaign grind.
So the idea of being governor, the status, that was enough for his ego. The doing part wasn't the point.
It seems like it. The talk replaced the action. And once that gap gets too big, the will to actually do the work can just collapse. We see this constantly now with social media, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like the example of the writer Emily Gould. She admitted she got stuck on her novel for a year. Why?
She said she was spending a lot of time on the internet, building a brand, getting validation online. It felt like work, but it wasn't the deep creative work the novel required.
So, okay, the ego pushes us to talk, to seek status. How do we resist that? How do we actually focus on the doing?
Purpose over status. That's the key distinction. And this brings us to John Boyd, legendary military strategist.
42nd Boyd, right? Because he could grasp complex situations incredibly fast. But he wasn't exactly a ladder climber.
Not at all. Brilliant thinker, but apparently rubbed some people the wrong way. They called him the ghetto colonel because he got passed over for promotions. He wasn't playing the political game.
And he had that famous choice he presented to younger officers, to be or to do.
Exactly. He'd say, look, you can choose to be somebody. Chase the promotions, the fancy titles, the club memberships. That's the path of, pride, power, greed. Or you can choose to do something meaningful, something for the Air Force, for the country, for your craft. But if you choose that, you might miss out on the perks. You might get overlooked. You might even face some humiliation.
So the ego wants to be. Purpose demands to do. You have to ask yourself with every opportunity, does this actually help me achieve my real goal?
Right. And if the answer is yes, then even things that might seem like setbacks or aren't glamorous, they become acceptable if they serve the larger purpose.
That choice sounds like it requires serious humility. You have to be willing to learn constantly. Yeah. The source calls it the student mindset.
Yeah, and humility here means actively, constantly adjusting your self-assessment downward, realizing you don't know it all.
But what if you've already hit it big? Like, say, you land your dream gig in a massive rock band. Isn't humility the first casualty?
Often, yeah. Which is why the Kirk Hammett story is so striking. He joins Metallica. Huge band, right? About to explode globally.
Yeah, dream come true for any guitarist.
And what's one of the first things he does, he realizes, I'm not actually good enough yet. He actively downgraded his own skill assessment.
Seriously? After getting into Metallica?
Yep. So he goes and finds Joe Satriani, the guitar god teacher. And for 2 years, while in Metallica, he takes weekly lessons. Drilling scales, theory, technique, total beginner's mind.
That's incredible. Deferring the ego completely, even at that level.
That's the essence of it. Never stop seeking feedback, never stop learning. Like Frank Shamrock, the MMA pioneer, he had this system, plus, minus, and equal.
Okay.
Always have someone better than you to learn from your plus. Always have someone you're teaching who's maybe not as far along your minus. And always have someone at your level to push you your equal. Continuous learning built right in.
Okay, so humility fuels the learning. How did that translate into action, especially when you're just starting out and maybe don't have much influence?
That's where the canvas strategy comes in. The idea is focus on making other people look good. Be the support system.
The antinembolo, the guy clearing the path for the important person.
Right. It means doing the less glamorous work, the stuff behind the scenes, and letting others take the credit, at least initially. Think Benjamin Franklin.
How so?
Early on, he wrote these incredibly popular letters under a fake name. He was honing his writing skills, learning what resonated with people, all while letting his brother, the publisher, get the public recognition and the profit. He learned in the shadows.
We see it in sports too, right? Bill Belichick.
Perfect example. He volunteered for the tedious job nobody wanted, analyzing game film. Hours and hours of grunt work.
But he did just do it.
No, he developed critical insights. And crucially, he shared them strategically, quietly, with the senior coaches he wanted to impress. He wasn't looking for public praise. He was mastering the craft and building influence internally.
So the mantra is be lesser, do more, help others succeed, do the essential but maybe unseen work.
And by doing that, you learn everything. You understand how things really work, you build relationships, and eventually you gain the leverage to steer things yourself. You clear the path, then you get to walk it.
Okay, let's shift gears. Part 2. Success. You've climbed the ladder, maybe you've achieved that big goal. The danger doesn't stop, does it?
Oh, definitely not. The sources argue it gets worse. On the way up, ego is maybe like a bratty kid. But once you succeed, it becomes like a drunken monarch. Success is seriously intoxicating.
Yeah, the world starts telling you how great you are, and that little voice inside the ego starts saying,
See? I told you. You are special, different. The normal rules, they don't apply to you anymore. Harold Gene, the famous CEO, actually compared corporate ego to alcoholism. It completely distorts your perception of reality.
and the ultimate cautionary tale here has to be Howard Hughes, right?
Absolutely textbook case. Inherited a fortune young, brilliant mind, innovator in aviation and film. But his ego ran wild.
His later business record was described as embarrassing, wasteful, and dishonest. What happened?
He got bored with the profitable tool company that made his family rich. He wanted the glamour, the celebrity. So he poured millions into movies, into projects driven by whim, not strategy.
Like the Spruce Goose, the giant plane.
The infamous Spruce Goose.
Yeah.
Cost something like $20 million back then, which is astronomical. Huge, impressive looking, and it flew exactly once, for about a mile. Then it sat in a hangar, costing a fortune to maintain for decades. A monument to ego.
Just a colossal waste, fueled by needing to be seen as extraordinary. It really shows how ego can make you fly too close to the sun. So how do you stay grounded when success is screaming that you're a genius?
You need anchors, stabilizers. The sources point to two big ones. Sobriety, meaning realism, staying grounded, and standards. Unwavering standards.
And Coach Bill Walsh of the 49ers is the prime example here.
Yeah, he pulls off this incredible turnaround, takes the team from worst in the league to Super Bowl champs in just 3 years, everyone calling him a genius.
But he hated that label, right?
Fiercely rejected it. He insisted his focus wasn't on genius visions, it was on the standard of performance. Tiny details, shirts tucked in, routes run precisely to the inch, practice schedules timed perfectly, absolute discipline.
And the winning was just a side effect.
A byproduct, he called it. Winning happened because they executed the standard flawlessly, day in, day out. It wasn't about ego, it was about relentless discipline.
That fights against the other trap of success, which is starting to believe your own hype, right? The telling yourself a story problem.
Exactly. You start thinking, oh yeah, I planned it this way all along. I knew this would work. You rewrite history in your head. And the moment you do that, you start paying attention to the details, you stop enforcing the standards, you get complacent.
And reality has a way of correcting those stories eventually.
Always. Facts over stories. Standards over genius narratives. That's the way to maintain success without letting ego corrupt it.
It's also fascinating to see leaders who actively fought what the source calls the disease of me, even when massive personal glory was on the line. General George Marshall during World War II.
Such a powerful story. First off, he actively shut down any attempts by his staff to lobby for promotions for themselves or others. He hated internal politics.
But the really big thing, D-Day.
Yeah. Commanding the Allied invasion of Normandy, arguably the most prestigious, historically significant command in the entire war, maybe in American history. It was his, essentially, if you wanted it.
Honest, down the what?
He believed, quite rationally, that he was more valuable to the overall war effort staying in Washington as the Army Chief of Staff, coordinating everything globally. That role needed him more.
Wow. He put the mission completely ahead of personal legacy.
Total selflessness. He understood that true confidence isn't about grabbing the spotlight. It's about knowing your role, doing the job that needs doing, regardless of the external recognition. That's how you beat the disease of me.
So besides standards and selflessness, how else can you keep perspective when success inflates your ego?
You need to find sympathia, a sense of connection to something much larger than yourself, a cosmic perspective.
Like John Muir, the naturalist, feeling that oceanic feeling in Glacier Bay, feeling part of the vastness.
Exactly. When your achievements make you feel like the center of the universe, you have to actively seek out reminders of how big the world, the universe actually is.
Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about this too, the idea that we're small compared to the cosmos.
But also big because we're part of that cosmos, made of the same stuff. Realizing you're just a small, temporary piece of this immense ongoing process?
Well, it tends to put the ego in its place pretty quickly.
All right, part 3, failure. Because, let's be real, if you try anything worthwhile, you're going to hit roadblocks, setbacks, maybe even outright failure.
It's pretty much guaranteed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Life happens, plans fall apart. The problem isn't just the failure itself, though. The sources say ego makes it exponentially worse.
By adding self-injury to every injury, we don't just fail, we beat ourselves up, we get bitter, we blame everyone else.
Exactly. We make the pain personal and often prolonged.
Yeah.
And this is where Robert Greene's concept comes in. Failure presents a choice between alive time and dead time.
Okay, explain that.
Dead time is when you're crushed by the setback. You're passive, maybe resentful, just waiting for things to get better, blaming circumstances. You're basically wasting the time.
And a lifetime. A lifetime is when you use that period, however difficult, as an opportunity. You actively learn, you reflect, you adapt, you improve. You turn the setback into fuel.
And the ultimate example of turning hardship into a lifetime has to be Malcolm X in prison.
It's incredible. He gets arrested, facing a long sentence. He could have just done his time, become institutionalized. Dead time. Instead, he decides to educate himself. He literally starts by copying the entire dictionary word by word longhand to improve his vocabulary and handwriting.
Wow.
Prison became his university. He devoured books on history, philosophy, religion. He used that forced confinement for intense self-reflection and intellectual growth. He transformed himself. That's a lifetime in its purest form.
Then you have someone like Katharine Graham, thrust into the CEO role at the Washington Post after her husband's tragic suicide. Talk about a baptism of fire.
Absolutely brutal circumstances. She's grieving, she's inexperienced in that role, and then bam, the Pentagon Papers crisis hits. Then Watergate. Then crippling union strikes.
The hostility was intense.
Yeah.
I read about union workers wearing shirts that said, "Phil shot the wrong Graham." Just vicious.
Unimaginable pressure. But she endured. She didn't crumble. And crucially, she didn't let the external chaos dictate her strategy. While the stock market was panicking about the Post's future,
She was doing what?
she was quietly, confidently buying back huge amounts of company stock. She knew the true value of the paper based on internal metrics and her own assessment, even when the outside world saw only turmoil.
That takes incredible resilience and, again, a focus on the internal reality over external noise. She turned potential failure into massive success.
Exactly, but ego can take you the other way. It can make failure permanent. Look at John DeLorean.
The car guy with the gull-wing doors.
That's the one. Spectacular rise, then a spectacular crash. His car company failed, losing hundreds of millions. Largely due, sources say, to his own mismanagement and narcissism.
But the failure itself wasn't the end of the story for his ego.
No, he couldn't accept it. He couldn't face the reality. Instead of learning, adapting, maybe trying again differently, his ego drove him to desperation. He kept digging the hole deeper.
To the point of criminality.
Right. It ended with him being arrested in an FBI sting trying to finance his company's revival with a massive cocaine deal. He chose potential jail time over admitting failure. That's ego refusing to let go, making the fall absolute.
Which underscores the need for restraint, especially when facing adversity or attack. Jackie Robinson is the model here.
Phenomenal example. Branch Rickey, when scouting him to break baseball's color barrier, didn't just ask if he could play. He asked if Robinson had the guts not to fight back.
Against the inevitable abuse, the slurs, the hostility, like from that Phillies manager, Ben Chapman.
Yeah.
Just relentless racist taunts.
And Robinson made a promise. He endured it. He absorbed unbelievable provocation without retaliating, without letting his ego be baited into a fight that would have derailed the entire mission of integration.
He understood the bigger picture.
He had tremendous self-control. He knew that reacting angrily, even justifiably, would only hurt the cause, letting others degrade themselves with their behavior while he stayed focused on the goal. That was the victory. That was mastering the ego under fire.
Okay, so we've seen ego as the enemy in aspiration, success, and failure. It's this constant threat, always lurking. How do we measure our progress against it in the long term? How do we know if we're actually winning this internal battle?
Well, it comes down to shifting your focus. Warren Buffett talks about the difference between the outer scorecard and the inner scorecard.
The outer scorecard being what everyone else thinks. Applause, reputation, status.
Exactly. External validation. If that's how you measure your worth, you're always going to be dependent on fickle opinions, on things outside your control. You'll be constantly chasing approval.
So the goal is to focus on the inner scorecard.
Right. Measuring yourself based on your own standards, your own effort, your own integrity. Did you do your best? Did you act according to your values? Are you living up to your potential? That's the real measure.
Tying your well-being, as one philosopher put it, to your own actions, not the outcomes or the reactions of others.
Precisely. You control the input, your effort, your choices, your standards. You don't control the output, the results, the recognition. Focusing on the inner scorecard builds that quiet confidence, that resilience that ego hates.
And this seems crucial, this isn't a one-and-done fight, is it? You don't just defeat ego once and move on.
Absolutely not. That's maybe the most important takeaway. The struggle is constant. The philosopher and martial artist Danielle Bellali had a great metaphor for this.
Which is?
Fighting ego is like sweeping the floor.
Okay, explain.
You sweep the floor, you get rid of all the dust, the room is clean. For now.
But the dust always comes back.
Exactly. It's the nature of things. You can have a moment of great humility, a breakthrough, a success managed well, a failure handled with grace. But the ego, the dust, it settles again. Complacency creeps in. Pride resurfaces.
So the work is never truly finished.
Never. So maintain that balance, that humility, that connection to purpose. You have to keep sweeping. You have to be vigilant against the ego every single day, maybe every single minute. That ongoing effort, that's the real path to self-mastery and meaningful achievement. It's a daily practice.